Is the S&P 500 an outdated relic? Welcome to ETF Guide TV. I'm DeLegge. Great to have you with us. Everyone's talking about the addition of Tesla to the S&P 500 index. And because I enjoy taking the road less traveled, the poets were right, I want to attack this from a different angle and along the way assassinate some sacred cows, or at least try to, and maybe ruffle some feathers. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you about one of the biggest indexing blunders of all time up until now. And that's the S&P 500 Indexing Committee begrudgingly adding Tesla to their index only after Tesla's share price and market cap skyrocketed. I mean, what took them so long? And why is the S&P 500 Indexing Committee asking the investment community and market participants about the best way to go about adding Tesla to their own index? I mean, shouldn't they already know the answer to that question? I mean, it's their index after all. And has the S&P 500 become outdated? I mean, if they're just now adding Tesla to the index, what other great companies have they missed, and what other great companies will they miss in the future? And if you own an S&P 500 index-linked fund or ETF, should you be concerned? These are some of the questions that I want to address on today's program. Got a lot of loaded questions and not a lot of time, so I'm going to have to really get through this. So as I alluded to earlier, I like to take the road less traveled, and that's why I no longer build and manage investment portfolios, but rather I deconstruct investment portfolios, and I do that by analyzing and grading them with the portfolio report card. Now, this is the world's first and foremost portfolio grading tool. I built it from scratch with my own hands and a team of engineers, and I want to grade your portfolio. I want to help you find out what's right, what's wrong, and I also want to help you to improve your overall portfolio's architecture. So be sure to watch the Portfolio Report Card, a weekly program, right here on this same channel, ETF Guide TV. And does your portfolio pass or fail? Well, you're going to find out when you watch each episode. So here's the press release, without further ado, of Standard & Poor's announcing the addition of Tesla to their index. And as you can see here, this is going to happen on December 21st. It's going to happen in one large swoop before the market open. Now remember, the S&P 500, you can divide it into 11 industry sectors or groups. And Tesla's got to be part of one of those sectors. In this case, as you can see from the release, Tesla's going to be part of the consumer discretionary group, which also includes Amazon.com and Home Depot and Nike, among others. The ETF that follows this sector is ticker symbol XLY. And I'm not even sure that that's the correct industry group assignment for Tesla. It's such a crazy company. I mean, is it a software company? Is it a battery maker? Is it a car maker? Is it a transportation company? I mean, what is Tesla anyway? It's probably all of that and above. And in the future, it'll probably morph into something radically different than it looks like today. And that's why I think one-dimensional industry sector assignments for stock indexing are too constraining. And S&P, by the way, is not the only index provider that indexes their securities in this manner. But the point that I'm trying to make, and it's a completely unrelated point to the main point for today's show, but nevertheless relevant and merits attention, is that dynamic companies like Tesla and others deserve dynamic multi-sector industry assignments. And since nobody's listening, that's my 2 cents on Indexing 3.0. But after being added to the S&P 500, Tesla is going to take up about 1% or represent 1% of the overall index of the S&P 500. It's going to be an awfully large trade. Keep in mind, Tesla's market cap or size is well north of 500 billion. So this is going to be somewhere in the vicinity of a $50 to $60 billion trade by just adding Tesla to the S&P 500, making it one of the largest trades in the S&P 500's history. Now, I got to give you some context because we got to discuss Tesla's pre-S&P 500 index membership. And for those of you new to the show that aren't familiar with indexes, it's just a collection or group of securities. That's all. It's a fancy word for group of securities. So whenever you hear the word index, just keep that in mind. And so in this case, we're talking about the S&P 500, a collection of 500 stocks. And the S&P 500, you can also think about it as a country club. And country clubs are pretty elite places, and you got to pay your dues to get in. And so S&P 500, as far as stock indexes, is one of the most elite country clubs out there. And it's interesting, though, that we see Tesla in major benchmarks like the NASDAQ 100 and the Russell 1000, and also the broader NASDAQ composite, also the Russell 3000. And they continue to hold Tesla in their respective yardsticks, yet that's not been the case with S&P indexes like the mid-cap 400 or the small-cap 600. The most common progression for a company's rise to the S&P 500 membership is to first make the S&P 500 small-cap 600, and then you go up to the S&P mid-cap 400, and then once you get big enough, you graduate to the big leagues. That's the S&P 500. It's comparable to a baseball player that starts out in the minor leagues with single A ball, double A ball, triple A ball, and then finally you prove yourself and you make it to the big leagues, which is the S&P 500. So none of that happened with Tesla. Why? Well, it's basically puzzling to me, but I think here's what happened. The S&P committee ignored Tesla in its rookie years, and when the stock was having some of its greatest performance gains ever, they looked the other way. And then they realized, oh, we made a mistake, and they belatedly recognized that mistake, how badly they messed up and miscalculated. And so what they did was they sent Tesla straight to the big leagues, the S&P 500. And so if you're using ETFs tied to some of these smaller stock indexes like the S&P mid-cap 400 and S&P 600, you might be a little bit angry because now you realize, hey, I never got exposure when Tesla was in the minor leagues. So you missed all that wonderful performance in Tesla. It's a travesty. But wait, there's more. After its Tesla announcement, you know what S&P did? They went out to the investment community and they solicited this community for their opinion, their viewpoint on the best way to add Tesla to their own index. That's the S&P 500. I'm not making this up. There's over $11 trillion benchmark to the S&P 500. And if you're a multi-trillion-dollar index provider like Standard & Poor's, I mean, this is not a good look. Asking the investment community about the best way to index stock components of your own indexes? I mean, that's just berserk. It's like Michelangelo saying to the public, hey, everybody, I'm taking a survey about what people like. So should I paint the ceiling and the walls of the chapel, or should I just paint the ceilings? If the S&P 500 Index Committee is like the Michelangelo of indexing, they're certainly not acting like it. It's like Michael Jordan asking fans with 5 seconds left in the game to go if he should take a jump shot or if he should drive straight down the lane. I mean, it's heinous. He's Michael Jordan. He's going to shoot the ball. The ball's going to go in the basket, and you can't do anything about it. And if you think I'm done with the berserk analogies, well, no, I'm just getting warmed up. What the S&P 500 Indexing Committee has done with Tesla by asking the investment community about their opinion on how to most efficiently add the stock to their own index, it's akin to Kathleen Battle stopping in the middle of a performance and asking music critics if it's okay to start singing in baritone instead of soprano. What do they know? She's Kathleen Battle. She can sing in whatever key she wants, and even Pavarotti knows better than to mess with her. There's over $11 trillion indexed to the S&P 500. Yet, the S&P 500 committee, they want to know about the best method to add Tesla to their own index. I mean, can you imagine? Help me understand this. Can you imagine Ferrari going to drivers and saying, hey, what should our next motor be? Should it be 12 cylinders or should it be 16? What are you, Stunad? It's Ferrari. They don't care what drivers think. They're going to build a great motor. They're going to sell it for a lot of money, and everyone's going to want to drive it. I'm just astounded by the novice behavior of the S&P 500 Indexing Committee, so much that I'm still not done with the bizarre analogies. It's like Mozart asking Ron DeLegge, hey, Ron, should I do a flute concerto or should I do a piano sonata? I have no idea, Mozart. Why not both? Why are you asking me? Look in the mirror. You're Mozart. You should know the answer to that question. You're the musical genius. Write it, play it, and be gone. It's like Christian Louboutin saying, hey, ladies, should my next shoe design be stilettos or flats? He doesn't need your help. The shoe sole is going to be bright red. You can't do anything about it, so keep your design opinions to yourself. He's the shoe designer, not you. Unlike many indexes, which are rules-based, the S&P 500 is committee-based, and that's a big difference. And the individual members of the committee get to decide which stocks get added and which stocks get deleted from the index. That leaves a lot of room for some human biases, don't you think? We live in a world driven by algorithms, and the committee-based approach to indexing for the S&P 500, to me, seems clearly dated. Yet, it's this same secretive committee that after collecting their millions in indexing licensing fees has the chutzpah, has the nerve to ask us about the most efficient way to add Tesla to their own index. It's akin to Banksy asking the Scotland Yard for permission to spray paint his next building with a giant rat. He's Banksy, and you're getting a rat on the side of that building whether you like it or not. He doesn't care about your opinion. So now that you've heard my preposterous and belabored analogies, now I want to hear yours. Post them below in the comment section, and I'm going to pick my favorite one. And the viewer that comes up with the best analogy, the one that I pick, is going to get a signed copy of my latest book, Habits of the Investing Greats. So please, please, please make it good. So what are the key takeaways from today's conversation besides all of the berserk analogies? Well, first of all, the S&P 500 is not passively managed, but rather it's an actively managed index where this secretive indexing committee makes active decisions about which companies to include or exclude from the index. And in Tesla's case, the S&P committee made a big mistake. They made an active decision to exclude Tesla for so many years, and then finally they recognized they were wrong and just beginning to add Tesla at this particular stage. We also learned that the S&P committee is obviously prone to mistakes. They say the goal is to provide an accurate portrait of the U.S. large cap market, but for years they grossly ignored one of America's most innovative companies in this area, and then only after the huge run-up in Tesla's market cap and share price did they decide to add Tesla. So they were asleep at the wheel. And the S&P indexing committee should never be asking the public or anyone else about the most efficient way to add stocks to their index. I mean, you're S&P, you have trillions indexed to the market and your yardsticks, so you better know the answer about how to add stocks and the most efficient way to add stocks to your index. So finally, and this may be the biggest takeaway, and the most berserk one too, is that despite of its flawed committee approach, the S&P 500 still beat almost 87% of U.S. large cap fund managers over the past 15 years. So the long-term record of indexing, even with all of its quirks, as we just discussed, it's still a winning strategy for the buy and hold investor. So if you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you have, hit the like button below, leave us a comment, and also be sure to subscribe to ETF Guide TV. Watch our other weekly originals. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the portfolio report card and we've got ETF battles. Also, I want to mention, be sure to enroll in my online classes. I've got 4 of them, and I'll teach you about the birds and the bees of profitable investing. I'm pleased to announce for our YouTube viewers, for the month of December, you'll get a 15% discount on the enrollment fee for all 4 classes. That just for this month of December. Be sure to use promo code INVESTRIGHT for your 15% discount. Well, it's been fun, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ron DeLegge. I'll see you next time.